What if it was... I'm just spitballing here. What if it was your Dungeons & Dragons fix and session inspiration? In like one. Welcome to Monsters Multiclass, your Dungeons & Dragons fix and...
Oh, I love it! I'm Kevin Odie. I'm Jared Barnacle, and I'm your fixpiration for the afternoon.
Sounds like figspiration.
Yeah, figspiration.
Are figs inspiring people?
Yeah.
Or are we inspiring figs?
Or fig perspiration.
A figment of
Or
your
making
imagination.
figs perspire.
Nice. We make
Figs
figs
perspiration.
sweat. Welcome to Monsters of Multiclass. We make figs sweat. That's just confusing. I think we might alienate our audience.
Abstract monsters and multiclass. We just say random things. It's modern art.
Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass.
We make figs sweat.
I'm Kevin Odie,
I'm Jared Barnacle.
And I'm Will Melvin.
and we'll be hanging out with you for a while to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This week we're taking a look at the Artificer Ranger Multiclass, and then later on, the Tarrasque from the Monster Manual. So pull up a chair and stick around.
All right, so this week our multi-class is going to be the Artificer Ranger. So this is our first Artificer multi-class, so I'm a little bit excited. If you missed the initial discussion around the Artificer, we did a breakdown episode that turned out to be a lot longer than anticipated, because it turns out there's a ton to unpack for this class. So if this is your first foray into the Artificer, we're still going to describe what we're talking about, so don't feel like you're going to be missing out entirely if you don't remember a specific class feature. Otherwise, the Artificer is a Tinkerer spellcaster, the only other int spellcaster in Dungeons & Dragons, and really found its niche through just that, being a different type of spellcaster entirely. And then the Ranger, which is a nature lover / monster killer, half-caster martial character. So the multi-classing requirements for this is going to be 13 for Dex, 13 for Wisdom from the Ranger, and then 13 Intelligence for the Artificer. So got a couple, 3 different stats, which is always a bit of a pain, but overall, let's hear some first thoughts from Will.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how to multi-class an Artificer, and I don't think any of us really do. I think I don't know what we have weighted dice that really likes bringing the Ranger back into our lives every friggin' couple weeks.
I think we're almost done, though.
Oh,
I need to double check, but I think we got almost all of them.
That's like terrible that we've somehow managed to hit every single one of them. But I actually think this has got some potential. They both kind of make sense as they are like they're very goal oriented and not tied to anything mystical. So you've got Rangers who want to do things with their own powers, and Artificers are the same way.
Right. Okay, I got you. So you're not seeing that same confliction like the Paladin monks, where
Exactly.
it's like they're might have some of the similar goals, but the ways they go about it are entirely different. This, it's like just you're kind of free to do what you want.
Artificer, I think, is going to continue to be something that makes a lot of sense roleplay wise to pick up. It seems like if I lived in this world, it would be a hobby I'd probably adopt.
Right. You're like, oh yeah, I'll start putting some stuff together, put some arcane symbols on it, and oh hey, I can shoot fire now. That's pretty cool. Kevin, first thoughts from you?
I absolutely love the flavor of this one. I think you can make really cool characters of like the Outlander Ranger who protects this area of the land or whatever, and there's this ancient civilization that was there, and they rip apart the technology to make new stuff, or they're just, even if it's not that, they're just utilizing technology to accomplish their goals, like what you were saying. Mechanically, I'm actually underwhelmed. I was really thinking, like initially it sounded like this could actually work, and as I start going through, I'm just not finding much.
Yeah, that was what I noticed as well. Mechanically speaking, I don't think it ever was horrible or it's going to be absolutely awful, but I'm not seeing any times where it's just like, oh, that's amazing. Like we get that one thing that just makes it and will make this feel like an entirely new class. To some extent, I think what is going to happen is we're going to see the Artificer pick up some of the slack that the Ranger drops by not being very focused. where the ranger kind of fills this role of, it's a fighter-ish, it's kind of spellcaster-ish, it might be support at some times because I guess it has Cure Wounds and the that level 2 Healing Spirit. It doesn't really fill any specific role, but I think what the Artificer did really well with its 3 subclasses is creating 3 very segmented roles that, when meshed with the Ranger, can kind of make it shine a bit.
Right.
So, like, if you are mixing a Ranger, I won't even talk about any of their subclasses, but any of the Artificer subclasses, like the Alchemist, then you can really make your Ranger have a more support feel, which is hard to do otherwise with any of the normal Ranger subclasses. If you go the Artillerist, then you're getting some extra damage with all of their turrets and such. And then the Battlesmith, where you get the Steel Defender as your main thing, which is kind of like the Ranger's Beastmaster, only better, of course.
I was going to say it's a better way to go about being a Ranger Beastmaster.
And I'm sure we'll get to that. But overall, I am not blown away mechanically, but I think this is something that you could definitely put together a reasonable class that's not going to lag behind in any substantial ways.
So one thing with this, where we haven't specifically talked about it too much, but there's always kind of want to look at, so if you're multi-classing, what you get out of doing it. Like, so you're a Ranger and you pick up Artificer levels.
Right.
Does it synergize and make the Ranger better? Or is it more just having these certain Artificer abilities around can make the Ranger better? And in this case, by that I'm meaning if another party member was just an Artificer, it would almost be the same thing. Because that's what a lot of the Artificer is they could use their own stuff, like infusions and potions and whatnot, or they could use it on the party. So, like, you're looking through and it's like, oh, these potions are nice for a Ranger, or this infusion's nice for a Ranger, or anything like that. But if you just have an Artificer in the party, they could just give that stuff to the Ranger anyways.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So, because of the fact that the Artificer as a whole really fits a support role where they don't need to benefit themselves directly, having an Artificer in your party is really always going to be better than multi-classing with it, at least for the most part, and definitely with a Ranger. I think that's true. That's not always going to happen. You're not always going to have an Artificer in. And even more, I think flavor-wise, there's going to be some character concepts that will draw you to it regardless.
Right.
And you're not going to be as good as an Artificer. But I mean, yeah, if you want to have somebody who's a good spellcaster, you're going to have somebody who's a pure wizard. But if you don't have a pure wizard in your party and somebody multi-classes into it, that can be better than nothing.
Right, that's true.
So as for combinations here, one of the first ones that really jumped out to me is trying to think about, what makes most sense going from Ranger to Artificer or Artificer to Ranger from a roleplay perspective. And I actually kind of came to, you can probably do both pretty easily, but I'll talk about Artificer to Ranger because I feel like that one's a little bit weirder later on. Ranger to Artificer, as you mentioned, Will, is really easy to just justify, as you can just start picking up that type of hobby, so to speak, where you're like, oh yeah, I want to start infusing my crossbow with this and this, and now you can start going into that. But mechanically speaking, as we discussed in our Artificer episode, a dip into Artificer can be kind of tough. So the first level as a whole, you basically get nothing. You get the magical tinkering, which lets you basically use a stone or object for things similar to prestidigitation.
Yeah, you could loop a message. It could shine light in for 5 feet, stuff like that. It's nothing crazy.
Right.
It has no mechanical implications.
Right. The only thing that they really are getting is they do get spell casting at first level, which is different from most half casters. But is it really that much? No. So it's definitely not the type of class I could ever justify a 1-level dip into.
Right.
Second level does start to pick up a bit more, though, as you get the infusions, which can be pretty huge, and one of which I think is really interesting and has a obvious synergy with the Ranger, is the one that allows you to make your ranged weapon a +1 and remove the loading property.
Right.
Repeating
something.
Yeah, repeating shot, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So that right away is a lot of what people will take Crossbow Expert for. Now, Rangers don't need to use crossbows by any means, but I think a big barrier to why they don't use them is because of that loading property and the feat tax that comes from having to take Crossbow Expert to use your 2 attacks in 1 turn. So I really liked that right off the start, where even just a 2-level dip is now saving you from a feat.
Yeah, and he had a heavy
spellcasting.
crossbow, which is a D10.
Mm-hmm.
Range is not nearly as good though for a longbow.
Compared to a longbow?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely true. Is a longbow a D10?
D8.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
so
really weak.
damage versus range, which honestly, how many times... heavy crossbow is probably 60 feet before its disadvantage.
No, it's like 120, man.
Okay, so then how often does that come up?
Never. It never comes up.
We've definitely had sessions
For
and
like
fights
a
where,
round, though.
Yeah,
where it's
that's
like
true.
first round you get disadvantage, and then you just move, and it's not the end of the world by any means.
That's true.
I don't think it's enough so that I'd ever say, oh, I should really take the hit to damage, an average of 1 less, but still less, every single turn for the rest of my life. It's probably better to go with that, the crossbow.
Yeah,
It's 100 and then 400 for
Okay.
the heavy crossbow.
Okay. And then, did you have the longbow up?
Longbow's 150 and 600.
Okay, so it's a 50-foot difference. And you're right, we have definitely had fights where they start off at 100 feet away, but unless the enemy has something that they can use at 100 feet away, it really doesn't matter. Once you get to that 100, you're good to
Right.
go.
I like this flavor a lot more because anytime anybody takes Crossbow Expert, and anytime anybody uses a crossbow, they take Crossbow Expert.
Mm-hmm.
You've like the DM's like, oh, and you invented a repeating crossbow or something,
Right.
Where this one, it literally, you invented a repeating crossbow.
Yeah. Then that's 100% what I did with our ranger or past ranger. They wanted to take Crossbow Expert, basically said, hey, here's this whole repeating crossbow. Funny enough, I actually feel a bit bad looking back. He had ideas to multi-class into an Artificer, and I was like, no, that doesn't really fit into the world. And now that I'm looking at this, that's a small dip into Artificer is basically exactly what he should have done. Of just that idea of like, oh, I'm tinkering with my my creations or whatever passed down to me to draw arcane energy from them. I told him to go into Arcane Shot, the fighter subclass, because
Arcane Archer.
Arcane
Yeah.
Archer, thank you, where you get arcane shots. But like looking back, I'm like, man, it would have made a lot more sense as an Artificer, and also been a lot more interesting than going a couple levels into fighter.
Yeah, it always is.
Yeah, but the dip into fighter is just so nice.
I
You
know,
know?
that's why it's boring.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah, if you're a ranger, you would at least need 2 levels to get 2 infusions.
Right.
For sure. And then infusions are really great. There's a lot you could do. You could help yourself out or give them to other party members and really play into that support role.
One thing to keep in mind is that Artificers can infuse more items as they level up. At level 2, they can only infuse 2 items. They can know 4 of their infusions, which
Right.
Just allows them to either create a magic item off of a list, or they can imbue a non-magical item with a specific property. So off that list, I mean, it's all great stuff and things that I am right there with you. Where giving it to your party can be really nice.
Mhm.
But when you only have 2, I wonder if it would be difficult to justify.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could see giving yourself the repeating shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's something that boosts your AC or...
There's all the basic ones. There's one
Yeah.
that boosts your weapon by
Yeah.
a +1. There's one that boosts your armor
Enhanced
by
defense,
+1.
yeah.
And I think that's all of the second level ones. The repeating shot and then replicate magic item. And looking at the magic items that you can create at second level, I don't think any of them would make me pass up a +1 item besides the bag of holding.
Yeah, and that's really campaign dependent, though.
Right. So that list is not extremely long. Just alchemy jug, bag of holding, a cap of water breathing, which I feel like I don't even need to explain what that does. It's just, you breathe in water. It's fine. Goggles of night gives you dark vision. I mean, these ones, like, I think that ones like that can help round out your party in the sense of, to put it in our campaign right now, 3 out of 4 people have dark vision.
Right.
If one of the people was an artificer and it was just like, hey, you know what, I made this infusion, you've got dark vision now. On the days that we need it, you've got dark vision.
Right. Or just to help realize a character concept where you're a human monster slayer, ranger.
Mm-hmm.
And you're realizing being human is having some disadvantages in this, so you start tinkering with stuff and become an artificer, and you give yourself repeating shots so you can unload your heavy crossbow into things.
Yeah.
Which is very Van Helsing, very classic Monster Slayer stuff. And then Goggles of Night, because you're hunting monsters at night usually, now you could see, and now you're that quirky dude with the mechanical goggles and the cool looking crossbow and all that sort of shit. I mean, like, it's cool. It's fun.
It looks like it's such a badass mask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has like the eagle nose.
The goggles of night.
The owl face.
Yeah.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
As an owl
You look
face.
like
your nose becomes a beak. Yeah.
that guy from Watchmen or whatever. Owl face.
I think that's his name, Owlface.
He's played by that nerdy guy.
Owl
Man.
face.
Patrick something. But no, it's a badass character concept, and like a lot of people do come to tables and they're like, all right, my character is fucking perfect, but Mr. DM, I need 3 magic items to make it work at all. And then what are you gonna do? I mean, sometimes these are really fun combos, and the Artificer kind of gives you an out,
Right.
as opposed to a DM just tossing out free magic items.
Right. You can also say, the more that you explain that, I also get like I hate to say this, but like a Batman vibe of the utility belt. Of just like, he recognizes he has limitations, like being able to see in the dark. So here are how I overcome my limitations. That's actually a good way to bring in the human race.
Right.
Which a lot of times people complain like, oh, it feels so bland. I want to play a tiefling. I want to be a devil person. But, you know, as a human, there are things that, like, you're looking around at all of these races where they're like, we all just have dark vision. What are you doing, bud?
I made my own dark vision.
Right,
Ingenuity.
exactly. And it's like, it's taking that concept of just like, well, you know, what separates humans? Why are they on an equal footing as elves when humans live 70 years and elves live 700? Well, because humans invent and they innovate quickly in their lifetime. That is a very big thing in the lore.
Yeah, I'd say almost basically every major fantasy setting, that's how it works.
Exactly.
The humans are from like on paper starting from a weak point versus all the other races, be it fantasy or sci-fi and aliens and all that, but they have the tenacity, they have the drive, they have the ingenuity.
Right.
I'm glad you used that word because I was about to be like mutinacity. Because it's always mutinacity.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they suck and they're garbage and they're worthless and they just got here, but they're the best because they try so damn hard.
But you see it all over the place.
Yeah, I know.
Every,
I think Mass Effect is probably the worst one. It's like they show up like 50 years ago and they are already like the dominant race on every space station.
Right.
And the exact explanation is because they try just a little bit hard.
Because things didn't just come easy to them. They didn't have dark vision. They had to make it.
And this is a world where, like a universe with thousands of different species
Right.
of absolute martial and intellectual and spiritual supremacy. But, you know, Commander Shepard's there making the hard choices.
so yeah, you could really play into that.
right. And that I think we've said so many times where, yes, it feels a little bit tropey when we talk about it, but tropes are fun to play out when it's you doing it.
Right.
And I don't think that one is honestly explored that much. I think it's just kind of accepted a lot of times where it doesn't actually become part of your character. It just allows everyone to keep going without, you know, talking about how humans really suck at smithing compared to dwarves.
Well, no, the reality is that every human starts out with one of the overpowered feats, and it's just like not even funny.
What's the variant?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the variant. And
Yeah, which
takes
you
it.
could, I mean, ban at a table and just go for base human plus 1 to all stats and like 2 skills and
Or the other way around I see people do, which is everyone just gets a feat right from the start.
right.
It's like, no, there's no
More
variant
broken.
human. Everyone gets a feat. Is it broken if everyone
Yes.
gets it?
Yes, it is.
No,
no,
it's not.
because then you just balance combat around it.
All right. There is no such thing as broken D&D sessions as long as everyone's equal in power. You know that, Will. We say it every day before we start. That's our mantra.
Actually, I gotta strong disagree with you on that.
What's that?
We've had this conversation before. I don't want to completely derail this.
fine.
But so even if everyone's equal in power, but it's higher than where they should be at the level, it makes the DM's job really difficult.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, challenge rating is far from perfect, but it's kind of a quick shorthand. You could sort of get an idea based on challenge rating and go from there. But then let's say, right, everyone has, at level 1 has +3 magic weapons, and they're hitting
Totally
really
balanced.
hard.
Totally balanced.
So it's like, oh, I'll just throw harder stuff at them. And so, all right, now these new harder things, health is in line with what they could have to
Dex
prevent the
save.
challenge.
Oh, they're all dead.
Yeah, but then they also, their defense is not in line with that harder one. So now you're tweaking monsters where they have more health, but they still don't hit as hard. Then it's like, all right, they have more health, so what's even the point of the +3? Because you're just having to hit them the same amount anyways. It makes it very difficult.
That is perfectly fair. And I think that's definitely something that newer DMs will find themselves kind of trapped in because characters love magic items. It's fun to get a magic item and be like, ooh, look how strong I am now. But then what you don't see is just that in the back end of the DM now going like, okay, well, they keep tearing through all of the fights, but if I throw a Tarrasque at them, they're going to die in like one fight. So this isn't good.
Right. And then you're stuck homebrewing everything, making tweaks to every monster.
Right. So
basically negating the magic items you gave them.
Oh no, the gremlin stole your black razor and it's gone forever. No, you can't track them. Yeah, roll a survival. No, you lost. They're gone forever.
And it's totally fair. So I to some extent retract my statement. As long as as long as one person's not outshining everyone else, and you're not so given such great magic items that it overshadows your character level, then you're fine. But that takes a lot longer to say. So I'm gonna stick to what I had originally said.
And I still disagree
hour
with the
and a
longer
half
version.
podcast format. You don't need to be. You could be verbose.
Fair enough.
It's okay.
All right, so back to this Ranger Artificer. At 3rd level of your dip, you then get your subclass for the Artificer, which is split into 3, kind of mentioned earlier, of the Alchemist, which is a fully just support class as it feels, a Artillerist, which allows you to do some extra damage and also get some turrets that you can just set up around the battlefield.
Which is used for extra damage.
Extra damage.
For the most part.
Yep. And then the Battlesmith, which is kind of like
You
the
get a
martial
tank dog.
artificer. You get a dog, you get an extra attack at 5th level, and some extra proficiencies as well that you would already have from Ranger, so you don't need to worry about that.
Right.
And I think the most important one of this is this allows you to use your intelligence modifier instead of your strength or dex modifier.
Right. I always forget about that, even though it's kind of like the critical keystone to the subclass.
Right. So that is a huge thing, especially in a multi-class, because that gives you some options.
Right. You could keep you need at least 13 dex, but you could stop there or put it at 14 and get your +2, which is universally beneficial anyways.
Right. And then you're hitting the cap on medium armor anyways, which allows for +2. And then, then you just focus
intelligence.
Right into intelligence. The only thing that you're missing out on there is then wisdom for your ranger spellcasting modifier. But I don't think rangers cast that many spells that require a spell save.
No,
I don't think they cast like any.
they're going to cast Hunter's Mark.
They're going to cast Hunter's Mark. I don't think wisdom's... Like, as much as this is multi-attribute dependent, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of others here. Like, even, a ranger wizard.
Well, right. I'll say that if you do take the Battlesmith, you've got a point there.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you go the non-Battlesmith, you are kind of looking at a bad intelligence handicap.
Yeah.
Because wisdom and dex are universally useful, no matter who you are.
Right.
Intelligence, that's the kind of the kicker with introducing classes like this to kind of make up for the intelligence gap.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not a lot out there that you're getting.
That's fair. I think when it comes to the artillerist, that if you are just doing a small dip for the initial turret, which is actually pretty good. I mean, you get the option between a flamethrower, a force ballista, and the protector one. So you can either have a turret that gets up close and does some cone damage.
2d8 and a 15-foot cone.
Thank you. The force ballista, which can be 120 feet away and stay back with you maybe, and does 2d8 force damage on the hit. It is a ranged spell attack.
And push.
Right. So,
but it's as a bonus action. You command these things as a bonus action.
Right. So you want your intelligence modifier to be okay, but I don't think it needs to be like fully your focus. If I was to go into one of these other two, the alchemist or the artillerist, I'd probably focus on dex first, get that to a respectable level of like, at least 16, maybe 18. I don't know. It feels good to get it to 20, but like in a multi-class, sometimes you're just not going to get there. And at the end of the day, it's like a 5% chance when you raise it by 1. So it might not be the end of the world. But, you can get that Flamethrower, Force Ballista, and the Protector. And the Protector one specifically is just going to give temporary HP. It gives more based on your intelligence modifier, so the higher you can get that, the better. But it's still 1d8 plus a minimum of 1 every single turn.
1d8 plus your intelligence, yeah.
Right.
Which you can do as a bonus action every turn. You have to be within
creature
10,
of your choice within 10 feet.
Yep.
This is a dumb question.
There are no dumb questions.
No, this is actually a pretty dumb one. So, if you're spamming temp HP, temp HP obviously doesn't stack. Anytime it's mentioned in the book these days, they make sure they know. But can you choose to take the temp HP in that situation?
That's a good question.
It's like, oh shit, I rolled a 1. It's like, do I just like, oh no, I'll pass, I got plenty.
I believe...
No, man, I'm all full up.
I believe you have to take the temp HP. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're
so
right.
that's actually a good question where... Oh, that's a really good question. Because if I had Armor of Agathis on, and my Artificer brought the Protector turret over near me and got rid of all of my temp HP, I'd be very, very upset.
Oh yeah, I beat the shit out of that guy.
You're like, oh, I can't... the Warlock who just cast this at 5th level, I've got 25 temp HP, and you just replaced it with 3.
And he kills the frost damage. Frost damage instantly disappears in that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So it just ruined your spell entirely.
Yeah. So I wonder if to some extent there... Wait, actually, it's each creature of your choice. Oh, so you could say, this is kind of metagamey. It is. But
you can say, I don't replace it.
Right. Like, hey,
so it's
I
not
gave
that
you
catastrophic.
8 plus 4 this turn, so everybody's got 12. Only one person got hit. I'm just going to replace theirs this turn.
That's not even metagaming. That's just like being aware of the battlefield situation.
That's fair. I guess I explained it in a less metagamey way.
Yeah. All right, that's all right.
So, yeah, again, I don't think there that you're going to be too reliant on intelligence. It's going to be nice to get up, but I don't think you're going to be losing out on too much if it only stays at like 14 or 16.
You are killing your bonus action in that situation, but that's not a huge deal.
It's really not.
It really depends on what you're playing. If you're playing a dual wielder, obviously that's not going to work.
I think it goes without saying. Well, no, it does go with saying. We're supposed to be verbose. Kevin just told me. So I'm going to elaborately explain why you should really not go into a martial class sword fighter type with this multi-class. I don't think it works very well. I think it can be done, but I think you're going to get a lot more mileage out of playing either the crossbow, longbow, whatever ranged character. I just don't see much benefit from going into any type of sword fighting or whatever you want to call it.
Why is that?
Melee fighting?
Yeah.
That's it.
Melee fighting?
Because you're now either going to have to... So you can use a finesse weapon. If then great, you're relying on dex, that's fine. But otherwise, you're going to be relying on strength, which would be exceptionally dumb.
Right. Well, so yeah, you go finesse, which is not a problem.
No, it is. It's the end of the world. No, but I guess the really only other issue is just that it's going to be more difficult to mesh with some of these, like the Eldritch Cannon, I guess, where you're not like really tanky in any way, so it's a bit weird to get up close. I don't know.
I mean, you could be somewhat. So let's say a medium armor, you're not worried about stealth. So is that 15 plus 2? That's 17. You have a one-handed finesse weapon. You're not dual wielding because you need your bonus action and shield. So then you're at 19 AC. And then I assume Artificer's a 1d8 for hit dice.
Correct.
And Ranger, same thing.
1d10 for Ranger.
Yeah. So I mean, you're not tanky. You're not like this. You're not a wizard. You're not a barbarian. But
that's fair. Okay, so I guess you can kind of be up in the fight.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a problem. And then I guess you could leave your Eldritch Cannons, like your
just
Force
set them
Ballista.
60 feet back.
Right.
And it's like you protect them. Because they don't have a whole lot of health.
And they got a shitload of AC, though.
That's true. They're at, 18, I think?
Yeah.
Don't have
AC
it up
of
anymore.
18, correct. Number of HP equal to 5 times your Artificer level.
Right.
So that is nice. I mean, because that's actually not a bad amount of health.
No.
Just 3 into Artificer, it's got 15 health. It's
15
pretty
health,
good.
18 AC.
It's
keep
not
it,
a
keep it in
familiar.
the back.
Right. And
Yeah,
keep it in the
you have
back.
to be within 60 feet of it to activate it. But
Right.
If it's if you've got the flame cannon though, I mean, you just like wear it on your head, man.
Oh, right. You, did
you
mention
can hold it. The implication is it takes up a hand though. So like
Okay.
you're not gonna have your shield.
Well, I don't like that implication. I want to wear it on my head.
Well, for you, Will, we'll make a special exception.
If you're an artificer. If you can't come up with some kind of like special hat for free that can hold your weird flame tank cannon,
It's balanced.
what are you
It's
doing?
just balanced.
What are you doing?
The
man?
balance gods come down and they smack it off your head.
How it's like
So
how,
stop doing that.
It's supposed to crawl on the ceiling like a normal
Or you
artificer.
hold it like a gun and it takes up your hand. You cannot have a sword, a shield, and a flamethrower hat. This is ridiculous.
This is out of hand. I'm sorry. I have to.
I understand the wizard could disintegrate things and cast meteors from the sky, but a flamethrower hat,
Too
no.
far.
You have
Too far.
violated the laws of causality. Your powers will now be stripped.
The one thing that does make it difficult to continue going further into these artificer classes, though, at least the artillerist and the alchemist subclasses, is that at 5th level, a lot of their stuff has to deal with when you cast a spell, you do additional damage. I think that
Right.
it can be fine, but you are to some extent potentially, I don't want to say wasting it. It's just you might not be casting that many fire spells when you are at 10th level total, 5 in Ranger, 5 in Artificer. Because your spells just aren't going to match up or catch up damage-wise to your full spellcasters, which is fine, I mean, really for the most part, but, you know, it just might not be worth it. That's really it.
Right, when you have the martial prowess of a ranger backing you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I would either go 3, maybe 4 for the ability score improvement, and one or the other. I don't think it's worth taking both of them like up to 10 or something like that.
Right.
They start fighting with each other too much.
Right, which is really good because that makes this a strong contender for the Ranger Bitterness bounce.
Yes.
Though you're not going to get to level 20. And actually, I'm going to immediately counter myself. Would the 3rd level abilities of an Artificer be that great at level 20? Probably not. The turrets
No.
themselves aren't doing much damage. They're doing
Yeah, I mean
something.
they scale well with being an artificer.
Right.
But it's artificer levels.
Because at level 20, your turrets, you have 2 of them, and they each have 100 health and
Yeah.
18 AC still.
And I think they each do 3d8. Then they get an extra
Yes.
d8 at some point.
That
So
scales
that's
very well.
68 from 120 feet. Yes, that's a level. I think that's at level 17 they get that.
As a bonus action.
Yeah,
To
or level 15 they get the second one. I think.
Okay.
it's incredibly cool.
Right.
It's not so cool.
So at
you know,
9th
how to
level, the
get it.
damage increases.
Yeah.
So yeah, 15th level total, they get,
They
two,
get two of them.
Doing 3d8.
And
force
then
damage.
the other cool sparkly shield where all of your allies have half cover within 10 feet of them. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it becomes really cool. But I don't know. So all right, if you're 17 or level 15 artificer, and then 4 levels or
Into
3
Ranger.
in the ranger, you get a fighting style. You get. I'm blanking
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Hey, you go
natural-
like hunter. Go like hunter and get Class of Slayer.
Correct.
Like get an extra D weapon damage.
Yeah, first 3 levels of Ranger. Level 1, you get Natural Explorer and Favored Enemy, which are universally considered meh.
Unless you're an exploration heavy.
Right.
campaign,
Yep.
yeah.
This right campaign, it works. Level 2, you get a fighting style and your spell casting,
Right.
which includes Hunter's Mark. And then at 3rd level, you get your subclass, which that can be really good. I mean, again,
Right.
Hunter is a good one.
Right.
Gloomstalker. Gloomstalker is an amazing 3-dip.
Yeah,
Because that's the
you-
one that gets you on the first round or your first turn of combat. You can run an additional 10 feet, and when you take the attack action, you make an additional attack. And if one of those hits, or whichever one hits, it does 1d8 additional
Yeah, if that
damage.
attack hits, yeah. And you could add your wisdom to your initiative.
And you can add your wisdom to your initiative.
Right.
Which I would...
Something.
Yeah,
You know.
I'd say that's a pretty good 3-level dip.
And you get Umbral Sight. That's also 3rd level. Don't forget about
Correct.
that. Where you get Dark Vision out 60 feet. So if you already have it, it's probably 30 feet. Goes up. Or no, it increases by 30 feet.
Correct.
So you could have 90 feet if you're a class
Yes.
of race with it. And then anything that has to rely on Dark Vision to see you, you're invisible to.
Which
It's
is-
a little campaign specific, but can be absolutely fantastic.
That even works with your dumb Batman goggles because that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, yeah, just like standing there in the dark with your like eagle Batman goggles on. They can't see me.
You just whispered, so you ruined it. But
Yeah, no, that's actually pretty darn good.
oh, you know
Yeah.
what sucks?
Yeah.
A lot of things. But the main one that I'm going to bring up is that Hunter's Mark only works with weapon attacks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So
So if you've got your cannons in the back,
well,
Yeah.
regardless, your cannons can't get it for you because it needs to be your attack.
well, that is your attack. You're making a ranged spell attack.
Huh. Okay. Well, you can't do it then
But yeah,
because
it's-
whatever you just said. So
That makes me excited for Warlock.
I was gonna say, what's the wording on Hex?
It's a ranged spell attack. Anytime you do damage, I think.
Wow.
Because Warlocks do it so many
We'll
different
have to
ways.
look that one up
Sneeze in
before we-
somebody's direction.
When you hurt somebody's feelings, 1d6 necrotic.
That's if you're a bard.
Bardlock.
Bardlock. There you go.
All right. So if we're making that level 20 character though, so stop at 15 Artificer, where you get the maximum you're going to get out of your cannons as
Right.
the artillerist, and then 5 and ranger will get you to that second attack. So as on your turn, you take an action to do 2 attacks with the Hunter's Mark up. And you'll have a decent amount of spell slots because of the Artificer 15 anyways to help fuel
Correct.
more of those Hunter's Mark.
Correct.
And then a bonus action to do 2 Force Ballistas, each doing 3d8 of damage from...
Mm-hmm. And as long as you don't need to move your hunter's mark, you're golden.
Right.
And even then, I mean, to some extent, it is going to be a tough decision because your hunter's mark, setting that up in the first place. Okay, this is getting a little too mathy, but now that I'm thinking about it, so your hunter's mark is using your bonus action. You'll do the D8 on that turn, so that's 1 additional D8. But that is 2
D6.
D6. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So you're doing a D6, even less damage. 1d6.
Yeah. So if they
and
both
then,
hit 2d6, it's not worth it, actually.
Right. So, yeah, that's if both attacks hit. It gets, I don't know. I think there's.
If you've got the
spreadsheets I want to
ballistas
put
in the
out.
back, it's just not
Right. I
gonna
feel like
happen.
your
No.
ballistas are going to be a better
Because
choice.
one ballista
most of
hitting
the time.
blows it out of the water. A 2d6
Right.
versus 3d8.
Well, the only time that it's good is then on the next turn, you can get your hunter's mark again. You don't have
Right.
to cast it again, and you get your ballistas. But if you're just going to kill it by having 2 turns of using the force ballistas, then you're wasting
Right.
your time casting hunter's mark or moving hunter's mark.
Yeah, that's it. Anything big, you could probably justify it.
Yes.
But like super big. Because
Yeah.
moving it, you're also going to, it's just
That's
a
the thing.
mess.
It's
a
kind
mess.
of situational. You
Yeah.
have to get a feel for when
Yeah.
it makes sense to do.
It's kind of like, I'm running into it now with the Oath of Vengeance Paladin,
Mhm.
where you get Hunter's Mark for free. And it's like, I have yet to feel like this is worth spending that spell slot on on Hunter's Mark over a Smite.
Yeah, that one's a little closer though, because if you take your 2 attacks, then you're getting 2d6 every turn.
Yeah, well, this is before I had extra attack, but yeah.
Right, now that you have extra attack, I mean, it actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It can make sense if you're going to attack that thing multiple times. Really, as a whole, as long as that Hunter's Mark does more than what 2d8 would do, then it is better than the
Yeah, that's true.
the smite.
I'd say with the 2 attacks, it makes it a lot easier now.
Right.
That was new.
You're welcome.
It
Now-
is. It is still a risk, though. You know that can stop before you even hit once.
Right.
Concentration.
Oh, yeah.
All my enemies just got 20 more health.
This is this
it is
quality
concentration,
game
though,
design.
yeah.
Just keep scaling up their health. I love it when I go to hard mode on the game and they give me half health and everybody else double.
Oh,
health.
such good
Oh,
skill.
it's such balance.
Well, we
such
can't make our
mechanical
AI any smarter,
variability.
so.
You're so-
Or like Call of Duty where they just threw grenades more often. You're on veteran difficulty where the Nazis just have 50 grenades in their mouths at all times.
Ah, yes, what a fair death. I died from a grenade I did not see. Yes, I must ponder this.
How could I do this better? So
Hunter is also another good one. At 3rd
Right.
level, you get your choice between the 3 of Hunter Spray. I think Colossal Slayer is usually the best bet we say with that.
Right.
Whereas if you hit something, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, it takes an additional 1d8 damage if it's below its hit point maximum.
you get it once per turn.
Once per turn, yeah.
Which works just like the rogue sneak attack once per turn, which means if it is an opportunity attack,
Right.
then you can get that additional 1d8 as well. So let's throw in the Sentinel feat into this
Right.
as well.
Because you're human.
Yeah, because you're human,
Obviously.
very inhuman.
Right.
Giant Killer, I think we've determined is not that great. It's when a large or larger creature within 5 feet of you hits or misses you with an attack. You can use your reaction to attack that creature immediately.
that it can be good. It's the large
Right.
category where it's kind of limited. You're gonna run into more situations
where it takes two attacks to hit or kill.
Where it's not will be below its hit point maximum
Right.
than a large creature hitting you, I think.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty close, but you're going to have dry spells where you're not going to have dry spells with Colossus Slayer.
Right.
So you've got the consistency there.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, if you looked at it, it would seem probably even.
Yeah. Then again, though, with Giant Slayer, that the attack, it's let's say it's with the rapier or longbow or something, and you still just do the D8, but it's a D8 plus your dex and have Hunter's Mark up plus that, so it is hit more. It's not just a flat D8.
Correct. Yeah.
So it might. I don't know. It's.
I think Colossus Slayer wins almost every single time, if not every time.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much, honestly,
Yeah.
conversation around it. Giant Killer is very situational. When it comes up,
Oh, and it uses
it's
your
okay.
reaction.
And it uses a reaction compared to Colossus Slayer, which is going to happen in basically every single fight
Right.
ever. So
That's true.
There's no real winning.
Well, that's not even remotely true at all. There's tons of fights that aren't like that are designed for something like Hordebreaker.
Yeah, how many though in comparison?
Honestly, like shitloads. It just depends on how you play. And that's the issue. We like bias this and it's like, oh, I don't see this ever happening. But I mean, they wrote it for a reason. Some campaigns and some DMs and some battles are heavily biased towards 20 goblins versus 2 ogres.
And that's fair. And for what it's worth, I wasn't arguing Hordebreaker versus Colossus Slayer. I'm talking Colossus Slayer versus Giant Killer.
yeah, that's
Giant Killer is
a little
worthless.
bit more complicated.
Hordebreaker, I think you're right. I would assume that most people do not play in the here's 20 goblins, kill all 20 of them, just because that gets very samey very quickly.
Right.
It's a lot more fun to fight a couple strong enemies than 50 of one very weak one. All the time. Like, I mean, I say there is a lot of times where that's a great way to do it. You've got a boss fight, and then you put a horde with the boss in order to keep up the PCs and having to do more than just focus on the one bad guy. But I think in general, you're not going to see it that often.
Right.
Or as often.
Right. And another thing I think that kills Hordebreaker is it's on once in each turn when you're making a weapon attack, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target and within range of your weapon. I think it would come up a lot more if it was within 5 feet of you. There's a lot of fights where it's not a horde of things. It's like 3 or 4 stronger enemies. And they're spaced out where you are within 5 feet of 2 of them, but they're on different sides of you, or there's a 5-foot gap between them.
Right.
Hordebreaker can't be used.
Right. So to, I think, put it in a way that most people can visualize, if an enemy is flanking you, you cannot use Hordebreaker there. I know we don't use flanking, but a lot of people do. So it's just like if you're in the middle, there's one on each side of you, Hordebreaker doesn't come into play.
Right, because they're not within 5 feet of each other.
Right. So, anyways, I don't really love that.
Yeah, Colossus Slayer is always nice to have.
Right. The other option, I think, would be Monster Slayer.
Absolutely.
Which is a different subclass. And honestly, Slayer's Prey is a lot like Colossus Slayer. It just takes a bonus action to kick off. So there's 2 things you get with this, Hunter's Sense and Slayer's Prey. Slayer's Prey is basically like a free Hunter's Mark.
Right.
As a bonus action, you designate one creature within 60 feet. The first time each turn that you hit that target with a weapon attack, it takes an extra 1d6 from the weapon. Again, it's kind of just
Lasts until you have short long rest.
Free Hunter's Mark.
Yeah, no spell slot, no concentration.
Does less because it's only once per turn instead of every attack.
But it's nice to have. And then Hunter's Sense can be really useful as well. That's the...
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, as an action, choose a creature in 60 feet. You immediately learn if it has any immunities, resistance, or vulnerabilities. If they're... I thought there was another aspect of it where... That might have been the UA originally of this.
That's the bulk of it, though. If they have any immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities, you know about them.
Right.
And if the creature is hidden from divination magic, you sense it has none of these things.
Yeah, the UA had a line where if it... I forgot how they phrased it, but it was like basically saying like a troll will regain health unless you do fire damage. Like you would learn that.
Oh, and like
that's not in this. That was the UA, which is what I played the UA, so that's kind of what's
the
burned
special
into my brain,
details. I remember that exact line. I think
that made
might
a
be
little more
somewhere
useful
else too. But I would always lump that in as a DM personally. But
Yeah, I would have to see. That's kind of interesting. I think that's kind of makes that a little bit better as well, especially for a full action.
Right.
That's where it gets tough to not just give it to them. If it was a bonus action, I feel like what it gives right now is perfectly fine and doesn't need anything else.
Right.
Though it does make a ranger even more bonus action dependent. And I think overall for me, this class is a lot more flavorful than Hunter.
Yes.
I think just versus Colossus Slayer, because we're going to keep going back to that, it is less damage, and it's going to be less damage almost every single time. And Colossus Slayer doesn't use a bonus action to set it up. So it definitely wins out there, and I don't know if Hunter's sense from, once again, a mechanical standpoint is going to be worth going into this. But the idea of being a monster hunter is a lot cooler than being a hunter.
Yeah, it was... I feel like with Hunter, they just don't really give enough guidance on what it can be. Where I see it, it's less hunter and it's more like defender.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the main defenders of their realm, and if their realm is constantly... Like, not necessarily their realm, their kingdom, their land, whatever, is constantly under attack by goblins. They're going to get Horde Breaker and escape the Horde and all that. If they're fighting off giants, Colossus Slayer and
no, I think that
whatever.
Makes
and
perfect sense.
I think it can be really flavorful. It just sort of leaves it up to you. Where Monster Slayer is it's super baked in.
Right. Yeah, and grows as you go through it as well, where it becomes maybe not so much the third level one, but as you go forward with supernatural defense, where you get target of your Slayer's prey forces you to make a saving throw, and whenever you make an ability check to escape that target's grapple, add 1d6 to your roll. So that one I like because a lot of supernatural creatures force you to make saving throws.
Right.
Yeah, like a Banshee, for example. It's that makes you do a wisdom saving throw, but that doesn't really matter. Either way, it forces you to do a saving throw. If you have your supernatural defense on that, or your Slayer's Prey, you get that extra d6. That makes me feel like a monster hunter when I see the rest of my party going down, but I have been through this before to some extent, and you feel stronger in that aspect.
Right. And I think we mentioned it at the beginning, but the role-playing of Monster Slayer Artificer is just great. It fits so well.
Yeah.
They're the Monster Slayer, and they leverage technical prowess and ingenuity and tinkering for better tools to take down these monsters.
Yeah. No, I think
it fits perfectly.
It's really good flavor.
Yeah, but again, Hunter can as well, and I mentioned it real quickly in the first thoughts section, where you could very, very easily have there's this sacred land where it's built off of the ruins of some ancient advanced civilization that everyone has forgotten. No one knows who they are, what they do, but you keep unearthing just little technologically advanced things and you sort of figure it out. So you're the defender of those lands and you're utilizing that technology to help defend it.
Yeah.
You two did not play Horizon Zero Dawn, did you?
No,
it's PS4 only, man.
No. Yeah,
For now.
It's coming out for PC. You recommended it, and I was like, I can't, man.
it's really good.
I can't. I'm not going to buy a $300.
But Artificer Ranger, especially Hunter, Artificer, maybe Artillerist, or the other
Battlesmith.
Battlesmith, yeah. People love to try and recreate characters based off of other mediums, popular stuff, video games or whatever. The main character in that alloy is completely an Artificer Ranger. The general premise of that, and you get this at the very beginning, I'm not spoiling anything, is the world has moved on so much that our human civilization has collapsed. We got to some really advanced technology and it's collapsed and you don't know why. And there are humans alive, but they're so far removed from it, they're not aware of that. Mm-hmm. And they've reverted back to this tribal state and hunters and stuff like that. But all the ruins of our old civilization still around. And so they're utilizing that. So it's this kind of really cool mix of this sort of hunter-gatherer type stuff with this really advanced technology.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, techno-primitivism.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
I just said it.
Okay.
And that's actually what it is. Now, I have looked at it, and it is techno-primitivism, which only exists, obviously, in fiction, but it's a thing,
right.
I guess.
It reminds me of Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind. It's a Ghibli movie that somebody what is it? Is it
Ghibli?
Is it Ghibli?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's Ghibli.
I don't speak Japanese.
Fair enough. Me either. It's Totoro. That's it. So Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind is a lot of that same concept where the world was very technologically advanced, but then was wiped out for some reason or another, and then reverted to a tribalistic society. but they mesh technology and that really well, where
Right.
really well, but also really stupidly at the same time, where in one scene, airships come down and tanks begin pouring out of those airships, and then there's just knights in like plate armor and swinging swords, and I'm just like sitting there like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like they're
Right.
shooting, there's people in plate armor just shooting guns at each other. It's like, that's not how this worked. But anyways, I'd recommend that.
This is
Something-
reminding me just how many media did this trope. It's like, it seems like such an obscure thing, but I'm like thinking of
No, there's a lot.
multiple animes, Western movies, and it's like, yeah, it's they went back in time but forward also. It's
Right.
like, okay.
Yeah.
It always turns out well, but it is not a rare one.
Right. But wait, turns out well for who?
The
Like the-
audience,
oh,
not
okay.
not anybody.
Okay.
The audience.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Right. Yeah, so I totally agree. I think an Artificer Ranger mix is good there.
Right.
So I mentioned earlier how you could justify an Artificer going into a Ranger. I think it's a little bit weirder than the other way around. Being a Ranger, and to some extent, though, okay, so usually the way you get your favorite enemy and your natural explorer is kind of in what you just described, where you're protecting a land, so you become very familiar with that land and the monsters that encompass it, or something
Right.
in your backstory happened, it's tragic,
Yeah, or
and now you want to kill them.
hunt in that land all the time. Yeah, you're
Right.
not necessarily protecting, but yeah,
Right.
it's really baked into who you are.
Exactly. So the way I was thinking with an Artificer is, to some extent, that mortal enemy can come up naturally in a campaign. But as for like the favored terrain in that, Artificers are smart and they are research heavy. So I could very much so see them going into the Ranger life almost purely through research and just becoming fully engrossed in a culture that they're basically adapting in order to start taking on. It doesn't really explain all of the martial aspects of it, but they kind of have all of those to start anyways.
Right.
Going into Ranger doesn't give them many proficiencies that they didn't already have. Medium armor, martial weapons, and shields are already there for Battlesmith. I don't think battlesmiths get heavy armor, but Rangers don't either. And then you get like some additional, like you get proficiency in nature or survival or something like that. I think that could actually be a really easy way to get into that side of things.
Yeah, that's a good way to go about it.
It's definitely not the classic way where it's like, oh, and then I went off for a year to study in the forest or the mountains or whatever. It's like, I learned everything there is to know about it through books.
Right.
Yeah, that makes
Wasn't
sense.
Indiana Jones like an archaeologist?
Yes.
And then he just got, like, Nazis kept attacking him, so he just got better and better at gunfighting and regular fighting.
Yeah, like every day.
But he
he'd show
started as a nerd.
up. Right. Every day he'd just like show up to teach his class, and Nazis would be like,
Oh, where's our magic box? And he'd have to punch them or shoot them. And he's like, why do I keep getting better at this? I don't know. I think that's like, it makes sense, especially because both of these classes are like the pursuit thing. So I can see an Artificer in his pursuit for whatever, ending up taking on whatever properties of the locations or cultures that he's looking at.
Right. I would like that's the exact type of person that I expect. Like, oh, we've got this big mission in the forests of made up name, and you guys go there, and now the Artificer starts like spouting off tons of information about this place, and you're like,
And he
"How
speaks
did you-"
made up Namian.
Yeah,
And it's like,
like how did you do
last
that?
week.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I just picked up every book I could find and just started learning. It's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That is what I'd expect. So then, just taking that to the extreme, you get a Ranger.
We should probably talk about the Battlesmith and how that interacts with Beastmaster.
That is a good point. I
Yeah.
feel like somebody would yell at us if we didn't.
Yeah. So if you're a ranger and you want like the idea of going Beastmaster, I would almost like recommend to just dip into Battlesmith. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess I want to talk through because I don't know how well it's going to work. Because so the 3-level dip will get you that Steel Defender because you get that 3rd level, but it levels up and gets more powerful based on your Artificer level.
Correct. And I believe that the Ranger one does as well for Beastmaster.
Yeah.
It doesn't go up quick enough, as I believe has been discussed. It's 4 times your Ranger level compared to 5 times your Artificer level, which is just like kind of an easy fix for Beastmaster maybe, but whatever. I think that if you wanted to replace the Beastmaster, you're not going to get there with the Battlesmith unless you just accept that you're going to go a little bit into Beastmaster. You don't even know. Like, what would a 3-level dip in the Beastmaster get you? You get your crappy beast.
Right, that will never level up again and just die.
Right.
And I would almost go like 3 levels into Hunter and then go into Battlesmith and call yourself a Beastmaster.
Honestly, it's kind of an odd mix. In that
Yeah,
regard.
they don't step on each other's toes in terms of action economy, but that's
No.
more like a downside of the Beastmaster taking your action to control it, while the Steel Defender takes your bonus action.
This is the 10-10 mix I was looking for.
Right, so you can kind of...
So that's mostly true. Just I know that as you level up
Yeah,
the Beastmaster, it does get a little bit better.
Once you
right?
get extra attack, you could take the attack action and have you attack one, and then use the extra attack to have your beast attack, and then the bonus action to have your Steel Defender attack. So I guess, and you could... the Steel Defender gets extra attack at 5th level, and that will satisfy that. It's not saying the Ranger's extra attack. It's just once you have extra attack.
Wait, what level does the Steel Defender get a second
5th.
attack? Oh, okay. The Steel Defender does. Sorry.
Yes,
I
which
thought-
is same as the Ranger.
Yeah, I thought you meant the
Battlesmith
gets the second
extra
attack.
Oh,
The Steel Defender does not.
Yeah,
get a second
you're right.
attack.
Correct.
That's
The Battlesmith,
important
yeah.
because at 11th level, your beast gets an 11th attack. Or sorry,
That would balance it.
now we're there. Oh man, at 11th level, Bestial Fury is a Beastmaster. Whatever.
right.
God, I can't talk. Why are we doing a podcast? It's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that gets a second attack for the beast. So I guess if you go, 11 into Beastmaster and 5 into Battlesmith, you're getting a lot of companion attacks.
What
I don't know why you would do that.
It'd be goofy.
Yeah,
But like,
that's basically it. It's just that every time there's the possibility of having 2 companions, somebody's going to want to do
Make
that.
it 3.
Make it through the homunculus?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
yes.
Oh,
And then do Artificers get Find Familiar?
I don't think so, but I'm sure you could take a
I was
1
gonna
level
say,
dip into something that
do
does.
Magic Initiate.
Yeah, Magic Initiate. Get it. Then, what are you doing with them? Nothing.
Bogging
Sitting-
down combat. It's annoying.
Bring a chair and sit in the back and make your animals
Animals
fight
do
things.
everything.
Yeah.
It'll be like Pokemon.
Oh, God. There you go. You can make a Pokemon trainer. And it's just, some of them are going to die in 1 hit. And then midway through the day, everyone's going to be like, oh, what do you have left? And you're like, oh, nothing. Unless...
Can we stop by the Poke Healy Center?
I could see somebody having that train of thought and attempting it, because you always hear about how important action economy is in 5th edition.
Right.
Which it absolutely is. And then thinking, all right, I can take it from 1 to 3 things acting. But it's more like each one is a third of an action.
Right.
Yeah, what's a challenge rating 4th exactly doing? Not much.
You know
That's the
what-
Beastmaster.
You know what else
Yeah.
sucks? For the, maybe I should actually check this. For your Steel Defender, yeah, you can get it back for like a spell slot, can't you?
Something like that.
Pretty sure.
It returns to life after 1 minute with all of its hit points restored if you cast a first level spell slot, compared to the Ranger Beastmaster, where you have to just wait 8 hours.
You have to spend 8
Yeah,
hours.
you have to spend 8 hours
Correct.
catching a new dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones where everyone almost homebrews it away, where it's saying, yeah, you have a mystical connection and you can do the 8 hours to resurrect.
I think that
Yours.
all the Ranger UAs, the revised Ranger UA,
Yeah.
changed that as well.
Yes.
'cause we
It
had
changed
somebody
the
play that.
entire
It
class,
did, it did.
And that's why I got the
It just sucks. We need something officially released so we can go off of that instead. Because
Right.
every time it's like, well, we have to address it because it's here.
Yeah.
But every other person's going to be going off of UA.
Right. Except for now, to make it even more complicated, there's kind of 2 UAs to go
Yeah.
off of. You have the revised and then what's that new one? There was another phrase for
Revisited or something like
it.
that.
No, they did it with like every class.
Oh, the expanded.
Expanded, yeah.
Expanded.
So you have the revised Ranger and then the expanded Ranger.
The expanded Ranger didn't give us much though.
Not for Beastmaster.
Not for
No.
I mean, no. There's no fixing Beastmaster unless you start from first principles, and that's what they did, but not with these updates. You just get bonus stuff.
Right.
I don't know. It's this is a second example of a great pairing that doesn't work without the magic book that I made up.
The one that's just
Yeah.
like multi-classes.
Specific multi-classes
Yeah.
that
Where it's like, oh, if you
synergize.
want to play a Battlesmith and a Beastmaster, here's making your
You've got a
beast
better beast.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
better one because you decided to really commit to this idea.
You have a cybernetic dog. There we go.
Ooh, Cyberdog.
Yeah, because both the Steel Defender and then the Beastmaster Beast, they barely keep up with the level as is.
Right.
The Steel Defender more so than the Beast, and the Beast kind of doesn't, honestly.
Well,
And now you're slowing it down. You're slowing both of them down.
even if the Steel Defender didn't make a single attack the entire campaign, its reaction alone is better than the Beastmaster's.
The deflect attack.
Yes. The fact that they can just impose disadvantage on an attack roll of one creature can see that it's within 5 feet of it, provided the attack rolls against a creature other than the defender. They can literally sit there and take the dodge action and just use their reaction, and I would rather have that near me than the Beastmaster, just any
Right.
time. It's going to be more hardy at the very least.
Right.
So much more HP. So this
Yeah.
was a question that was brought up to me the other day, and I think I answered it correctly, but I want to get your thoughts on it. With the Artificer being new, I feel comfortable talking about it on air. So with the Steel Defender, it can be either bipedal or a quadrupedal. Is that correct way of saying it? Either stands on 2 legs or 4. If it stands on 2 legs, you can't give it an item, correct? Like a weapon?
You
Correct.
can, it just can't do
You
anything.
can't do anything with
Right.
it. Okay, that's what I said as well. Like, somebody was like talking about putting a character together, and they're like, and then I could give it a magic weapon. And I was like, no, you can't. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
It gets its attack, and it can't do anything else. But I didn't have specifics. I just shot it down.
I would say that it. I don't know. Like, all right, so you just can't attune to stuff, right? Like, you can't put like a belt on him and say, "Oh, he's got the magic belt now."
Right.
I
That'd
think,
be a huge waste of a Storm Giant strength belt, but it'd be hilarious.
oh, you know,
Give the Steel Defender dog the belt of Dormankind. That's what makes you grow a beard.
right?
Yeah.
That'd be
Oh,
awesome.
and it's like steel wool.
Yeah.
So I think what clarifies it is it says, unless you take your bonus action on your turn to command it to take one of the actions in its stat block, or dash, disengage, help, hide, or search. So it's specifically saying it can do anything in its stat block, or dash, disengage, help, hide, or search.
Right.
I mean, that's just like how it is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I knew it was no, but I needed that backed up.
Yeah. No, it's a definite no.
But here's the question:
I think-
can we put belts on the dog?
Yeah, I think you can put belts on it. I don't think it can attune to anything, actually.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
rule.
It's
Yeah.
a construct, not a... Oh, but are Warforged considered constructs?
No, it's one of those
They're
total
constructs
cop
plus...
outs.
Yeah,
It's like when something's technically considered like large as
Like
a
the
player
Goliath,
character, but
yeah.
right.
Still medium.
but
Yeah.
mechanically you're large. It's like fuck off.
Right.
Yeah, when you have it stand on 2 legs, I think people are picturing like a robot, a humanoid robot, almost like an android. It's like, I don't think that's the intended flavor.
No.
What do you think the intended flavor is? Like a really off-putting dog,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm picturing, I don't know,
an
like,
ostrich,
like a crab type thing.
a crab.
Yeah.
Crabs have more than 2. They have like 6 legs, Kevin. That's the
This one has
wrong
2
direction. Just 2 very shapely
like a really-
human legs, and then a crab body with.
Like it's a really like flat crab, so it just needs the 2 legs, and it just like walks sideways and the pinches.
Are you talking about the guy from Wild Wild West?
That had way more than 2 legs too.
But there was the like spider guy, right?
What are you talking about?
Oh, do you not remember? There's the guy who like from the lower half down
Oh,
had like
yeah,
robot spider legs, and then he was just like an old timey, business guy.
Like the there was
Evil
those-
dude.
It was in the Elder Scrolls Morrowind. They had the same thing, but it's more legs, not less.
Anyways, yeah, we want less.
There's
legs.
one really off-putting crab.
Oh, here's a good question: can they have only one leg?
Name one animal like that. Don't say snakes.
All I can think of is snakes. Actually, I
the
was going,
snakes have no legs.
No,
Right,
snakes
yeah.
have one leg.
but I was going to,
That's
I was going to
just
think
one
about
big
it, but
leg.
then I couldn't because he said snakes, and all I could think about was snakes, and it scared me.
A 1-legged elephant.
Oh,
Ah,
wearing a
gotcha.
sombrero.
That's a great plan. Bring our inside jokes into our podcast because everyone's gonna find them hilarious.
It's just that was just a dumb thing to add.
It was.
I think they meant ostriches.
Yeah, ostriches are perfectly fine. Winged
I say
creatures.
most birds, yeah.
Yeah. But they can't have a fly speed.
It's kind
Don't
of
ask.
though, man.
If you make any bird out of steel, it's not gonna fly. That's why you have to make planes.
What? Isn't a plane just a steel bird?
No, they're shaped differently. Jet engines.
I didn't know that.
The flapping, the wings that look kind of.
Yeah.
They've been really scary flight. They flap up and down.
Starting to like Horizon Zero Dawn. Going back to that, there's
A
like
flapping plane.
there's a lot of the main enemies are like machines, and they're like machine variants of animals. And there are flying ones, but I'm thinking about it. They all clearly have like jets on the back of them
Oh,
and shit. It's not just.
that's disappointing.
Yeah, they should just flap their wings.
No, I could picture them like in the attack animation up there, like flapping its wings as it like shoots laser beams at you.
But
I
also
still
has
think
a
there's
jet?
jets coming out the back.
Oh, okay. It's just
Just like a
flavor.
design decision is like, yeah, we're gonna have it flap to fly, and they're like, that's like orders of magnitude less downward force than we need. It's like, oh, fuck, put the rocket on there, I guess. That didn't work at all. Sorry, guys.
One thing just to kind of poke back on is I think mechanically speaking, the going mostly into Artificer and then small dip into Ranger seems to be a much more beneficial way of playing this class.
Yeah, because all this Artificer stuff gets better the more you're an
Lot
Artificer.
better,
It
yeah.
scales with you. The Steel Defender, the potions from Alchemist, your experimental potions, which is we didn't really talk about it, but that's kind of like the crux of the Alchemist subclass.
Right.
Those get more powerful, and you get more of them as you level up.
Right. Which I'll still
The Artillerist Cannon, though, just a consistent free 2d8 as a bonus action damage for the Artillerist it's like nice even up to level 20. Like it gets better, as you level them up 3d8 and then getting 2 of them. But it's a bonus action 2d8 damage is nothing to shake a stick at. I know that's a weird saying.
you just got to commit to it.
Yeah.
I think in our Artificer episode, I said put you in a sticky wicket. I mean, you just got to commit to the dumb phrases. Alchemist, though, I don't think we brought that up. It does work, though, flavor-wise even. It's just everything that we said with a focus on potion making instead of item making and tinkering.
Right.
Where if you're a ranger who gets super into making potions...
Right, which fits really well if you take the kind of herbalist vibe side of it.
Yeah, I think it is. It's that. It's playing more into the naturalistic side of it instead of the hunter aspect.
Right.
So I still like that. The experimental elixir, as we've figured out, is pretty good. It's just interesting for the most part.
Yeah.
You get one of them for free and it's random.
After a long rest.
Then after that...
Yeah, you roll a d6. But
Right.
so you know what it is. And then you could take it or give it to someone else, and then you can spend, spell slots to...
to make more of the ones that you want.
Yeah, and you could choose.
Right. So if you're like, I specifically want to spend 3 spell slots and make 3 of the boldness experimental elixir that basically gives bless to whoever drinks it.
Right.
Then you can do that. You just have to spend the spell slots up front. The benefit for that one specifically is that you don't have to hold concentration on something, and it's not your action to initiate it.
Right.
Do those go away at the end of the day?
The potions?
Yeah.
I don't think you could stockpile them.
That's definitely my question. Is there an amount that you can have or a limit there?
Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope.
We'll just cut the
Yep.
silence. I want to read it.
Creating an experimental elixir requires alchemist supplies, and any elixir you create with this feature lasts until it's drunk or until you end your next long rest.
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
They evaporate when you're sleeping.
Okay, but then the next part there is you do get some additional ones for free at 6th level and 15th level.
Yeah. So I'm smirking to myself here because I'm thinking of the next logical conclusion of the coffee lock, the coffee alchemist lock. So their whole thing, and it's bullshit. And
Kevin.
You see where he's going?
Yes.
So there's a way to set up a warlock. Well, actually, you technically don't need a warlock. You could get a way of not taking a long rest, and we've argued about it, and there's so much stuff out there online. Go read it. I don't want to dive into it now, but you could set up ways to not take a long rest, and so
Doesn't have to be a warlock? I thought it had to be a warlock.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a warlock.
there's a
It's sorcerer
warlock-
or warlock. I'm trying to remember it.
Warlocks get the short rest spell restoration.
Right, so you take a short rest, so you get those back, and then you could turn those into sorcery points and turn them whatever spell slots you want.
Right.
And then you take another short rest, and then on a long rest, that stuff's supposed to all reset. But you kind of cheese the rules and really kind of argue raw, and you don't technically ever need a long rest.
Can you turn the sorcery points into any kind of class spell?
Yes.
I think up to 5th.
Yeah.
So you could do the alchemist, can't you?
You
Well, yeah, spell slots are spell slots. Like it doesn't. It
yeah,
doesn't.
you're right.
Yeah. So,
Jeez.
so then you never take a long rest. So you can have infinite experimental elixirs. It's really not as good, but it's
No, it's super not. But with that, at least you can get healing, which the coffee lock generally would miss out on and need healing from somebody else.
right.
It also fits the flavor that we all decided was the only way you were allowed to play it is you have to be completely insane.
Right.
So you got this guy who's like losing it. There was no coffee ever in the coffee lock. This is the coffee.
Right.
The infinite
Yes.
bag of experimental
Yeah.
elixirs.
Yes.
He made a bag of holding to hold the infinite pile of them. And he just takes them at random, like every 3 minutes.
Oh my god. Where
I
does
mean,
he
there's no
even
bad
make
ones.
them?
No, there isn't, but it's still, I mean, you just randomly start flying every few minutes. Don't even mention it. Don't even notice it.
Or like is a huge addiction for them where they just like, not even in combat, just like it's like, what are you doing? Just gotta always be prepared, gotta be
Gotta be up, gotta be up,
be
gotta
ready,
stay up,
gotta
gotta
be
stay up.
ready.
You really lean into the alchemist side and fix that with technology. They're not swinging a potion, and they have like this tank set up on their
Oh my
back
God.
with a IV right into their arm.
The Bane mask.
I heard he doesn't sleep.
adopted the long rest.
Just like, who's gonna take watch? You just see him just sitting there, just pouring his elixirs together and
Just dumping them all into
more.
the tank.
Yeah,
Whatever happens to come through.
I don't think he sleeps. He can take watch. I'll take care of it.
And verboten, but
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. So don't do that. No one should do that.
Also, that we'll talk about it more in the Warlock.
Warlock Artificer sounds
Though saying it out loud, I don't think it's going to be helpful at all. The experimental
Helpful.
elixirs are nice, but
right. They're
not
nowhere near-
worth giving up all of the other stuff for.
Correct. They're not as good as unlimited spell slots with the sorcerer.
Right, Sorcerer Warlock. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So I think that's everything I've got for the Artificer Ranger. And we don't normally do closing thoughts, at least not formally, but I feel like it's just good. I don't know. I like it. I think it's got a lot of flavor potential.
Yeah.
Even if it's not mechanically the greatest thing in the
Yeah, I
world.
think it would be a really fun class. People will make these characters and have a lot of fun with them. And it's, like, yeah, there's nothing that like synergizes where like they come together and 1 + 1 = 3 type stuff.
Right.
But you get more versatility, it spreads you out. You get access to more things you wouldn't already have. It just could be fun.
Because this is the first one we were kind of learning stuff, and the thing I think that I noticed the most is the Artificer dip is kind of garbage,
Right.
But that second level, just getting the like item shit, it really enables a lot of things that weren't possible without it. So it's an interesting dip, even regardless of the Ranger, for like anybody looking for a thing.
Right. Yeah, it definitely makes you feel like you're doing the dip for a very big class reason or a big character reason. The one I'll always bring up is I hate sorcerer dips, which I know some people fight me on that. Not you two as much as people listening who say I'm dumb, but that's okay. So I don't love sorcerer dips. They always leave a bad taste in my mouth because there's usually not much choice to it, or it's just kind of the exact same thing where it's like, oh, this struggle of power that I didn't expect to get. I don't know why that bores me so much, but it really does. This, on the other hand, I feel like can be very exciting. It offers up 3 extremely distinct ways to pick up a new hobby, basically, and turn it into a very class and character defining, not event. It's not going to be a singular event, but pivot. Really.
Pursuit, honestly.
Pursuit,
it's a
yeah,
thing
right,
you
even
want to do.
that. Yeah, exactly. So for that, I think I'm actually going to be really happy with a lot of these Artificer multi-classes.
For sure.
Multi-classes.
Multiclass.
Yeah, just trying to think ahead mechanically. I don't know. I'm not making any claims, but I really can't think of one class RP-wise where it wouldn't make sense.
I don't know. I think Druid's the only one I'm going to...
I'm going to say Druid's
Okay.
got potential, but we're going to have that Ranger overlap. But what I'll say is Wizard. I can see like a Wizard just being philosophically against this approach.
Ooh, that'll be an interesting conversation. We'll leave that
Stick
just
around.
at that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just at that.
As we get to Wizard, Artificer is literally the last one and ruin any hype we build out of it from this conversation.
Remember that episode about 3 years ago? So, all right, with that, go into our promotional minute. If you are not yet, please subscribe to us on wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Twitter as well, monsters_multi, and then Reddit, which is our Monsters and Multiclass, to have discussions around the episodes and just get engaged with other people who talk about us. We've also recently started putting together a Patreon and a Ko-fi to not only just recoup some coping costs, some hosting costs, but also to try and put together transcriptions for the episodes, make the episodes available to more people, and also, it's nice to have. You can reference it, you can use it, and whatever. Put it in text. The issue is that because we talk about such weird things, we cannot do automated transcribing. It has to be person-based.
I said we tried.
It was bad. It was hilarious. I think we should release one just for the joke of it. I'm trying to remember what Mordekainen's Tome of Foes was, but it was silly. But regardless, we need a human to transcribe our episodes, which is expensive. So if you want to help out with that, support our show, you can find links to it in all of the places I mentioned before, really. And yeah, help us out. Just as a heads up, we don't have any Patreon subscriber tiers. That's kind of a moral choice, but the big reason is that we don't want to split the community. We do plan on engaging a little bit more and giving you some choice in what we talk about by offering up some polls for our Monster of the Week so that you can start voting on it. And that's not going to be Patreon specific. You can just do that. So if you've got a monster that you want to hear and you see it, or you've got input, whatever, we're listening, regardless of how much money you give us. All right, so nothing else there, I believe. With that, let's move into our Monster of the Week, which is the Tarrasque.
This episode's monster is the horrifying Tarrasque, a legendary creature in the realms and in most tabletops. This creature has widely been understood to be the biggest and baddest of all. It was made in 1983, probably as a prank made by a mad DM at their players because they're like, we're bored. And so they're like, you know what? Fuck it. And they created the biggest, the baddest, the strongest monster of all. There's a lot of complaints, especially in 4th and 5th edition, about how they have seemingly nerfed this once legendary, unbeatable monster. But it's got a few kills under its belt. It is the reason the Wizards of the Coast forum shut down. So, its power seeps out of the game. So what do you?
Let's start with that.
Let's start with that.
I think I know where you're going. But.
Yeah. So anybody who's not in the know, this is probably a solid 5 years ago. But Wizards of the Coast had forums where you could discuss stuff. And when 5th edition came out, the Monster Manual specifically, people saw the Tarrasque and lost it. The Tarrasque lost its regeneration ability. So on the forums, people argued that a level 1 wizard with Acid Splash and a broom could take the Tarrasque. And mechanically...
Because it doesn't have a ranged attack.
Mechanically, this person was right. 900 pages of death threats later, Wizards of the Coast just said, you know what? We're going to get out of the forum game. And that's how it ended.
Wow. So it was a piece of it.
I insist that the Tarrasque argument about the level 1 wizard with Acid Splash on a broom was the reason they killed it. It was the most caustic discussion I've ever seen in my life. Get it? Caustic?
I got Yeah,
I got
nice.
it.
Good pun.
Okay, so that, I think, brings up a big point of contention there, is that it doesn't have any ranged attacks. But what about when it doesn't need ranged attacks and is close enough here? Let's go through this stat block and talk about what makes this thing such a monster. So starting off, its armor class is 25. Hit points average of 676, which is pretty absurd. Speed of 40, which is not that absurd. But then going through, it's got a strength of 30, highest you can get. It's a plus 10. Dex of 11. Why not 12? Who knows? I guess they just thought 11 was a good number.
Yeah, because it makes a plus 0 still.
I know, but then, why did it need the...
Right, but no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it should have dumped wisdom, obviously.
All of its other stats are like that. So then 3 intelligence, which puts it at just barely enough intelligence to
Be sentient.
yeah, basically. 30 con, once again, the highest you can get. 11 wisdom and 11 charisma. So I think it's two scariest stats here. Definitely going to be wisdom and charisma with +0.
Right.
And the strength and con being +10 can just be ignored
Oh,
for the most part.
it's not even a provision in the saving throws.
The 11 charisma is interesting.
All right. So have you ever met somebody
Yeah.
who's 7 feet tall?
No.
All right. Well, it's fucking a trip, man. And as soon as they walk into the room, it's like, damn. And that's 11 charisma. He doesn't have to say anything.
Right. So I know it's about like force of personality and your presence. And it's like, if you're doing it solely based off of that, which it seems like they are because they didn't make it 0.
Right.
11 is not enough
No.
for the
No,
fucking
but he's
Tarrasque.
so dumb. It's just like, that's it. It's
like he's-
the floor of
He
charisma.
walks into a room, you all just absolutely get wowed at this person who just walked in, and then you talk to him, and it just is responded with a. And you're like, oh, he's not actually that interesting, is he?
That's the 11 charisma right there.
See, I see it more like if it's 11 charisma, if there's not much going on, it's a quiet restaurant and they walk in, people are going to turn their heads. But if there's like good conversations or it's loud, people aren't going to notice.
Right.
So it's like the Tarrasque
Yeah.
storms into the city and like everyone at this like fancy trendy restaurant having a good time don't notice it because they're too distracted.
Well, yeah, that is a little bit questionable.
Anyways,
For saving throws, it's got intelligence for some reason.
it's just trying to balance it out so it doesn't have a bad saving throw except for Dex.
Right. Wisdom and then charisma. Yeah, so Dex is its only bad saving throw.
Yeah, +5, +9, +9 respectively, and then strength and con are going to be +10 because
Yeah.
that's what the stand is.
Right. And then damage immunities to fire, poison, and then bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Condition immunities for charmed, frightened, paralyzed, and poisoned. And then senses, it's got blind sight out to 120 feet, and then a passive perception of 10, which I'm sure will come up in everyone's game. That'll be very important. And most importantly, a challenge rating of 30. I believe the only other official monster that has a CR of 30 is Tiamat.
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure. I would much rather fight this than Tiamat.
For sure. I was going to say, it's like they hit the ceiling, but I think if this is 30, Tiamat's like 35 or 40.
Right.
We should do Tiamat for one, just for the fun of it.
Yeah, we'll get
But
to it.
anyways.
We'll get to it. We'll see how this one goes. We'll play it by ear. For its stat block, it has legendary resistances, 3 a day, which is pretty standard for a legendary creature. Magic resistance, which just has advantage on saving throws against spells or other magical effects. And then a reflective carapace?
Carapace.
Carapace.
Come on, man.
You know, you guys shouldn't let me read things. You know I can't pronounce words.
Third grade stuff.
Is it? Jesus.
Carapace, yeah.
I was a kid who
boy.
was really into bugs
Oh, yeah, that actually makes
in
sense.
third grade.
Okay, so it's like its shell. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So anytime the Tarrasque is targeted by a magic missile spell, a line spell, or a spell that requires a ranged attack roll a d6. 1 to 5, the Tarrasque is unaffected. On a 6, the Tarrasque is unaffected, and the effect is reflected back at the caster as though it originated from the Tarrasque, turning the caster into the target. So that one sounds always like it's a really, really, really big deal.
It's not.
It's really not. It shuts down spellcasters in a way that I feel like it ruins anything that they're going to do. Maybe not anything, but it ruins a lot of what they're going to do.
Right.
Where they go, oh, you know, I've got this awesome... I'm trying to think of what's a ranged spell attack. It's like
Burning. What is Scorching Ray?
Sure.
Eldritch Blast?
Sure.
Over.
Sure.
You a warlock?
Right.
Just go home.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, you're like, oh, I'll use my Scorching Ray. And it's like, well, it's either doesn't work at all or it's reflected back at you without
Right.
any questions there. So you do it once and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use my cantrip that just forces a saving throw instead. And then that's it.
It's super effective. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep spamming it.
You're saying like Acid Splash, right?
Acid Splash.
Yeah.
Forces a
Sacred
dex
Flame.
save. Yep. So I feel like there's a couple classes here that are just like
Toll the
totally
Dead.
fine against this, and then others like the Warlock, where it's just like, yeah, you should probably go home. That's about all we got. You got Witch Bolt, right? Maybe
Witch Bolt.
the one time it shines.
Yeah, which one would be great here? Never get his attention either.
All right, so then for its actions, this is where the damage is coming in. It's got multi-attack, where it can use its Frightful Presence, and then it can make 5 attacks, 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws, 1 with its horn, 1 with its tail, and it can use its swallow instead of its bite if it is the right situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So bite is going to be, they all kind of follow the same pattern of 4d something, but bite is going to be 4d12 plus 10 damage, plus 19 to hit, and it immediately grapples the target, and the escape DC is 20. And when they're grappled, they're also restrained, and the Tarrasque can't bite another target because I guess it's got a tiny mouth.
No, because it has to open up. Come on.
I know.
So reach 10 feet.
Reach of 10 feet as well, which for something that's as big as it is, I think it's gargantuan, correct?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
That means as big as you want it to be. There are actual stats. It's like 70 feet long, I think.
Okay.
50 feet high.
Down here.
I feel like
50 feet tall, 7 feet long, yeah.
It'd be really hard for me to say that somebody is, in this square, and yes, you're within range, and now you're at this square, and oh no, that's out of range. Like, there's no, one single cutoff point, I feel like, that it's just
Well, the cutoff feet is 10 feet.
That just feels weird, is what
For
I'm
it to
saying.
bite, I'll say that's less so, because it's, you can't really extend your neck.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Unless you're one of those weird turtles.
It might be. We should ask. Next up is its claw. Another 19 to hit. Reaches 15 feet. And this does 48 plus 10 slashing. And nothing else special. Horns is same deal. 19 to hit. 10-foot reach. And 4d10 plus 10 for damage. Its tail, it's 46 plus 10 with a reach of 20. And then they must make a strength saving throw of DC 20 or be knocked prone. Probably good to start off with that one, then just get advantage on everything. And then it's Frightful Presence. This is a fairly common thing for just big, scary creatures. Dragons have it all the time. Just creatures within 120 feet of the Tarrasque's choice make a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw, or they're frightened for 1 minute. The creature can repeat this at the end of their saving throw, and it has disadvantage if it's within sight of the Tarrasque. Then, lastly, for its attacks its actions, is the Swallow ability. So when it has if it makes a bite attack against somebody that already has grappled and restrained, and the attack hits, then the target becomes swallowed. While swallowed, the creature is blinded and restrained. It has total cover, and it takes 16d6 acid damage at the start of each of the Tarrasque's turns. If the Tarrasque takes 60 damage or more on a single turn from a creature inside of it, then it has to make a DC 20 con saving throw, which comes down to a 50-50 shot, and it will regurgitate all swallowed creatures, which fall prone in a space within 10 feet of the Tarrasque. So, that swallowed is definitely pretty deadly, especially because the 60 damage has to come on a single turn.
From the person who's restrained inside of the Tarrasque.
Right. So,
which means, if you're a fighter and I got my 4 attacks because I'm level 20, each attack's with disadvantage.
And against a 25 AC.
Which is, all right, this is where it gets ridiculous. You're in its damn stomach.
Yeah.
I've always thought that there needs to be some kind of rule where it's not the same AC.
So, I get that to some extent, but for a creature who, I guess, pays the bills by swallowing living creatures that are very powerful and trying to kill it, it's probably got a pretty thick intestinal lining.
I'll give you that.
It's probably just as hard as the outside of it.
But that shouldn't be that way. That's not how.
And also,
you can't absorb nutrients like that, Jerry.
The Tarrasque can. If only you read the ecology of the Tarrasque.
I actually did. They have 3 stomachs.
Oh, they have 3 stomachs.
Yeah. All right. So the first stomach smushes and punches and just beats the shit out of whatever's in there.
Okay.
Once you're all beaten to a pulp in that stomach, you move to the acid stomach, which totally dissolves you.
Right.
And the third stomach is a giant magical furnace, which can destroy anything, even artifacts. And it doesn't need to poop because the furnace destroys everything. It's just gone.
Is this actually? This is actually the ecology of Tarrasque. See, that would be much more interesting for a swallow mechanic. Is on the first turn you take bludgeoning damage, on the second turn you take acid damage, and on the third turn you're dead.
No, screw it. Full Gears of War. It's an entire dungeon.
Someone did that recently.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I saw that on Reddit. I know nothing about it, so I can't credit them or anything. But I remember seeing that.
But I mean, that would be still a more interesting mechanic than just you take acid damage.
Right.
Because that's putting some flavor to it. There's something there. You have a very, very short deadline. And maybe then there's, some balance to it where you can't give disadvantage on the attacks. But you're not going to be a level 10 party fighting this thing.
No.
You're going to be level 20. And at that point, if you got swallowed, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you getting swallowed?
Well, no, that totally makes sense that you would get swallowed. It's not that hard to get swallowed.
I know. But to some extent, you need to, I guess, be prepared for that. Because you get a whole two-ish turns to deal with it. You get bit. You're going to have a turn in between before it can swallow you.
No, your legendary reactions. It has chomp. So legendary actions, typical as anything else, it could take them in between others' turns. And it gets 3 of them around and resets on its initiative, I think.
That is very true.
Yeah, and one of them, chomp, which does cost 2 actions. The Tarrasque makes 1 bite or uses its swallow.
Yep, that is fair. So if it bites you, it might just swallow you next turn.
Yep.
Or next possible.
And in fact, it very much should because
Right.
it needs to free up that action.
Right, to then bite somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's nothing all that crazy or special about it. Like its swallow, its bite, its claws. You see it over and over and over again in the monster manual, and all of them, really. It just does it all really well. It hits really fucking hard.
Right.
And it's hard to kill.
Right.
So on its own, it's not really exciting.
No.
I kind of understand the complaints.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it can have the framework to be exciting if used in the right way. So like that complaints where a level 1 wizard, or hell, they don't even need to manage to get a magical flying broom. They could just be an Aarakocra
Yeah.
and just fly a level 1.
That's how old this was. There wasn't even an Aarakocra.
Yeah, there weren't Aarakocras.
Right, yeah.
Forums got shut down.
It's okay, sure. It's fine. That will work. But this is not a monster that hangs out in the forest and you go kill it for a bounty. This is something that slumbers deep under the earth and is brought up for unknown reasons to destroy something and then leave.
Mm-hmm.
It's what it always does. So it comes up and it's all right, I'll, you got the smug wizard on his broom plunking little acid splashes at it, slowly chipping away at its 636 health. 676 health. Yeah, that's going to take literal days.
You're right.
He will pass some saves, so
Yeah.
sometimes just a wasted action.
Yeah.
And he's like, ha, I got you outsmarted. I'm going to get you, Tarrasque, as it just destroys an entire city.
Right.
Killing tens of thousands of lives and disrupting the entire kingdom, sending it into poverty. And
Or just wiping it out. Like, there's no stop here.
yeah, and it's like, it's just ignoring him. But it's
Right.
like, and then it's done, and then it leaves.
Right.
And it's like, oh, it didn't work.
No.
It's, you need the Tarrasque almost to set up, it almost needs to be like a time limit.
Right.
It needs to be going after something such as destroying a city that you need to try and protect.
Right. Where its main focus might not even be the PCs.
Right.
It might be attacking, castle walls, for example. It is a siege monster. It deals double damage to objects and structures.
Right.
Now that one's always kind of weird because you have to figure out how much health does a castle wall have, which I hate.
I'm sure it's all out there.
It's in
It
there.
is.
Yeah,
It is.
dingy, yeah.
It's just weird. But regardless, that's going to be what you're fighting against. Is it's getting to a certain place, and the PCs need to stop it before then, and the Tarrasque needs to manage killing these things that are a problem. The PCs will pose a threat at this level, and furthering progress and kind of making the decision of what makes sense this turn.
Right. Yeah, and that's where the 5 attacks
Right.
come
It
in.
has the
And
ability to
and
do
every
that.
attack hits really hard.
Right.
And will probably hit with a plus 19.
Yes.
Like, I mean, that would be pretty rare to...
Even at, level 20, we're talking about, absurd levels of AC, 25. And that's, again, I'm talking absurd.
Yeah, that's
all
really
the
hard
magic
to get to.
items, you've got, your +3 armor, your +3 shield, and you're just, okay, great.
Yeah.
You're fully kitted. You're not going to
You
go
still
past
hit on a
25.
6 or higher.
Right.
Yeah, and we're talking 30-something damage per hit, usually
Yeah.
on average. Like
Right.
that will knock people down fast. So half the attacks on the
But-
party, the other half on whatever's going
If
for
you
it.
have heavy armor master, that's -3. Because there's another oversight. He does not have magical attacks.
That's true. That's true. So thank you, Will, for reminding me that Heavy Armor Master is the greatest feat in the game. I love it. I don't care if you don't.
So, but kind of going back to what you said, because that was the argument that normal people made on the forums. It's like, all right, you're not looking at this right, buddy. That's not how it works.
Right. If
But
you're in an arena fight, then your DM sucks.
the other issue is that you can still kite the shit out of this thing. So fucking easy. It's not even funny.
So that, I think, goes back to what's their end goal. Where if they're trying to get straightforward, that's all they care about, and you're just sitting back and shooting at it, great. You're shooting at it every turn.
Well, that's
but-
not what kiting means.
Yeah, but how are you going to force it to pay attention to you over
You
its
aren't.
goal?
That's actually quite dumb. That's like a bad strategy.
Well, maybe I'm not understanding kiting.
You kite it. You will never have to interact with the Tarrasque in like a fight. You
Okay.
just shoot it the entire time. If that's your character, you don't want to distract the Tarrasque, you know?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So you've got entire characters, any kind of range characters, just never going to engage in this fight at all.
right.
There's no reason for them. Any flying character has even less reason. you
Right,
know?
so they're just going to be sitting up there taking pot shots, and if they do enough damage, then inevitably, it's basically just going to be a very bland Tarrasque fights the castle walls, and everybody else just shoots at it, and either they hit and do some damage and chip it away, or they don't, and then they just go to the next turn.
Yeah.
And that's still boring.
That is, yeah. So that's why I think you need to play it where you do need to make the dumb decision of getting the Tarrasque's attention. We did this on a really, really small scale in our recent campaign where there was a little boy getting attacked by these desert scorpions, and we entered the room and he's like surrounded by them, and we're like 40 feet away or something like that. Was it 40, 50 feet?
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, it was just a commoner stat block, and this kid was going to get ripped apart. But, you know, we were trying to role play. It's like, all right, we care about this kid's life. So we made the really dumb decision to dash in, giving up our actions, to throw ourselves over the kid to protect him, to draw the scorpions onto us. And it made this, what should have been a medium fight, actually almost very deadly. I think I actually went down 3 times in that fight.
Yep.
Because of the added element of trying to protect this kid.
That sounds like a really interesting encounter. Your DM is killing it. Give him my kudos.
Yeah.
No,
So
you're-
it's
you're
yeah,
right.
it's the exact same idea. It's like, okay, sir, you could sit in the back and just shoot arrows and magic at it, and it will ignore you. But by doing that, the entire city and tens of thousands of lives are lost.
Right. It
You
just-
have to make the sacrifice of drawing its attention.
So that's unbelievably dumb in some ways. So you've got this full party of people, kitted out monsters of the realm, essentially. But like half your party has zero reason to get in range of this thing ever. Correct?
Right.
Probably. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how a lot of parties are.
Right.
Right.
So, like, the DMs, what's the DM going to do? It's like, all right, all 3 spellcast. It's not convinced by the 3 martial characters. The spellcasters and the range guys have to come up too. It's like, they don't. That doesn't make sense.
That's
well,
fair.
until the fighter goes down.
Right. I say, but if it's just
Look at,
if it's just focusing,
then
then
get the run up to do it.
yeah. I say, what happens when it swoops down, bites the fighter, swallows it next round, and now the fighter, as we just said, he's restrained. He can't hit through a 25 AC, even with 4 attacks. What are you gonna do?
What are you going to do? Are you going to run up to the Tarrasque and, like, pap it with a staff?
I don't know. Maybe the fighter just dies. That's
that's fine.
really
That's
that's
fine.
besides the point. But now the ranger or somebody else is going to have to go and get its attention.
Yeah, I
Otherwise,
say
it's going to continue on.
one single party member trying to tank this thing and getting all 5 attacks focused on it will die very fast, even at level 20.
Right.
You need to try and split it up. You have to get creative with it.
Right. Like haste. You just gotta haste him. Plus 2 AC. Then shield. There you go.
Right?
Yeah, plus 5. All right.
Yeah, I'm just not like, that seems like a very
You
bad
can make
idea.
that argument about any, like dragon fights. It's like, And any single enemy fight, you can make that argument where it's like, well, you have people in the back and they're not engaged. Like, well, they're having fun. They're blasting at it and stuff, and they're having a good time, or the tank's tanking it and they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Everyone's having a giggle as lives are being lost at a rate that is just unfounded.
The dragon has options, though. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
Any options at all.
That's true.
Whereas the Tarrasque presents zero threat.
So I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm trying to argue against it because that's what we're here for. But if I were to ever use a Tarrasque, I am going to replace its probably its horn attack.
Its entire fucking stat block.
Just at the very least, its horn attack for a ranged like tail spike, which I'm pretty sure they had in previous editions. It's just a ranged attack. Maybe it even does the exact same damage, but instead it's able to attack at range.
Right.
And
yeah,
then-
I say given a range attack though is, or like a beam, not with like Godzilla style.
Sure.
Shoots a beam out of his
That's
mouth.
really cool too.
Yeah.
See, when you're talking about CR30, it's like, I don't care anymore. Like I'm just here to, make this as hard as possible. And I don't think that's a problem. I think that at the end of the day, we can sit here talking about ways that, yes, it could and probably would still be a fun fight.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if this was a thing, level 20s fighting it, I don't care if the Ranger's in back, just taking pot shots. But in order to make it a really interesting, memorable fight, you are going to have to tweak it a little bit with either a Godzilla beam or a ranged tail spike attack, or, I don't know, give it a unicycle. Whatever sparks up your encounters.
I still say as is with a very important thing to protect.
Mm-hmm.
Could still make it interesting. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
your party's going to have to really try and get its attention and trade who's getting hit.
Right.
Because no one person is going to survive just getting beat on this thing turn after turn.
That's probably mostly true.
And it is killable. I hear that complaint. It's like, oh, it's killable. It doesn't have like infinite regenerates and immunity to all damage. Like, I haven't heard that extreme, but people talk about like, oh, you could kill it. It's like, it's the Tarrasque. It should feel almost unkillable. And it's like, why have that as a stat block?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the
Right.
point?
I mean,
Right.
but they did. They
Right.
had it back in the day.
I know they did. I think it's really silly. Like, why waste real estate in these books, which have a limit on how much they'll print, with an unkillable monster? It's like, you don't even need the stat block. Just say it's immune to all damage and conditions.
But it wasn't. It just had a lot more hoops to jump through. I think the issue, though, is it's abundantly killable. There's so much shit in here, it's not even moderately resistant to. The AC's high, but it's not catastrophic. We're talking about level probably 20 characters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is 676 that much? We've had rounds at level 12 where we did 100-something damage.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's...
True. A couple paladin smites.
And this damage is a lot.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. This is it's like 150 per round, assuming everything hits, which is not an unsafe assumption. But that's not that much.
It's about 2 rounds.
Okay,
to
but
kill
the barbarian's
somebody.
resistant to it.
Okay.
Then you swallow the barbarian.
Yeah.
He's still resistant to it.
But still,
I mean, it's a problem, but now the
the
barbarian
swallow is...
can do all this shit too.
Swallow is 16 d6 acid damage per turn.
Right.
This
Well,
is-
also, it removes them from the fight.
Right. And
Well, no, it doesn't.
not
I mean,
entirely, but
he can cancel out his own disadvantage in that situation to beat on it.
Yeah, that's true. Reckless attack, yeah.
It's just like this is my biggest problem. There's so many fucking oversights in this Tarrasque that just don't make sense to me. Like, who would win in a fight, Tiamat or the Tarrasque?
Tiamat.
Came out.
Weaken Tiamat or the Tarrasque?
I don't know what weakened Tiamat entails.
It doesn't matter. She's immune to his attacks.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
immune to non-magical attacks. That's right.
That's just it's just so hard. Like, it should have magical attacks. It should have all these things. It kind of, I think I agree with a lot of people on the forums. This was a kind of missed opportunity and a fuck up. And I think with the way it is, it would be hard to make a fun fight out of this. And I don't want to be like a negative Nancy. That's just my opinion.
What?
I was like,
You?
I think it would be a struggle to make it fun to fight the Tarrasque in its current iteration.
Huh. Well, I think that at the very least there are some small tweaks that you can make to overcome that.
Definitely.
I think one that kind of bothers me is this with this reflection, the spell reflection. I don't know about previous iterations of the Tarrasque, but I don't like the fact that it just removes any reason to ever cast these types of spells. I would really rather there be like a potential chance for it to get through.
It's a half-assed version of what Tiamat has is limited magic immunity.
Right.
That's what it used to have. Like, just shit didn't work.
Right.
That's what the challenge was. And
But that's
I
the
agree.
thing.
That's frustrating and annoying.
I think Tiamat's was like spells under 5th level.
6th level.
6th level. That's
Right.
fine. Okay, cool. That's fine. I'm going to use my Meteor Swarm. That still works. I don't think that's a spell at rolled attack or anything. But I like the idea of just like, even just taking it so that you've got on a 1, the spell goes through. On a 2 to 5, it has no effect. On a 6, it gets reflected. Now it's like, oh, okay, I'm making a decision. Is this worth it? If this gets reflected on me, am I dead? Can I counterspell my own spell and make it out of this? Just something to provide some thought to it. Because a lot of this just feels like, and then the caster sits in the corner. Because if they get hit, they're dead. And if they make a spell attack that isn't just trying to burn their legendary resistances, and then, I don't know, maybe they get a hold monster on it if they cast like a bunch of hold monsters. But that's it. It's just like, oh, I cast hold monster. All right, it
immune to paralyzed.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, like, what do you... I would have to look through,
Yeah.
but, like, what spells can you even cast on this thing?
Disintegrate.
Meteor Swarm. Disintegrate?
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Right. And it's going to succeed... Well, okay, Disintegrate actually is probably a
It's
really
a-
good
it's
one
a
to
dex
cast.
one, right?
It's a
Yeah.
dex save, yeah. So then
And
once
if you're at level 20, you have a lot of spell slots for it.
Right. What level is Disintegrate?
6th.
I thought it was 7.
No, it's 6th level. I
Okay.
just
Okay.
looked at it.
Regardless, you've got plenty of spell slots to burn through the resistances, and then once it gets down to 100 health, that's it, right? Or is it 40? I can't remember which one it is. Power Word Kill is 100 health.
Right.
I think Disintegrate is under
If
40
it kills
health.
it.
Oh, yeah.
If it kills it.
That's it. That's
And
it.
it's like 10d10 plus 40 damage or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry.
Turns into dust. It
Yeah.
actually wouldn't turn. It shouldn't technically
be so
turn
much
into a
dust.
dust because there's too much.
It's too much dust.
It only disintegrates 10-foot cubes at a time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's just giving, like, I guess, better reasoning to try and cast spells.
Yeah, but my biggest issue is it's like half-assed. It's like trying to prevent those spells, but it doesn't really prevent anything significant unless it's super significant, and then it's just annoying.
Right, exactly. And I still want there to be, like, some just matter of choice, and I don't feel like there's any choice in that. You're just limited in what spells you can cast, and even if they do succeed, you're just kind of burning through them until you can start doing damage on it. Which, again, I say that like it's like, oh, how exceptionally boring. But in reality, as you've mentioned, Kevin, there's going to be a time limit on this. So you need it to fail as many of those saves as possible so you can start actually doing damage on it because it just killed 500 people with one tail swipe.
Right.
So there is definitely more story.
Actually,
to
the
this.
tail only does 46 plus 10, Jared. That's...
It would be doing it to a castle wall, which then crumbles, and every person near it takes 500 damage. I mean, they're just dead outright.
There you go.
That's
It's
it. There's no number that's necessary for it, honestly.
No, and that's the only really way to do that. You have to have consequences that exist external to the Tarrasque.
Mm-hmm. And even then, okay,
Right.
so I think maybe some of the issue here is that it's got such a history behind it. If this had no history and it was just like, here's the Tarrasque, new to 5th edition, how could you use this? You'd be like, oh, that would still be really a huge challenge for my level 20 party, and they would still have a fun fight against this. I almost worry that the legend of the Tarrasque has grown bigger than the Tarrasque itself.
Ooh, that was very deep of you, Jared.
Thank you.
But I actually still do question whether that's even true, to be honest. Like, I
don't
just
know.
feel like this character, like, the more I look at him, like, the more this looks like a very nukable meat sack. Like, 25 stops being that intimidating at level 20. Even, I mean, that's bad, but...
Well, 12 plus 12 or 13 to hit around then, if I had to guess. If I had plus 6 proficiency and then plus 5, so that's 11, and then either plus 2 or plus 3 weapon. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's about right.
Plus whatever else you got, you know.
Plus whatever else you got, of course, yeah.
And especially if you aren't just making, like... Your characters should be pretty kitted out by level 20. You get some pretty... That's the problem with endgame. You get some pretty freaky stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, legendary items are pretty whack.
Yeah, because you're limiting it to like, oh, they have 20 strength. They might have 29 strength.
Right.
To be honest, this is not a limited thing.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of situations where it wouldn't be a threat.
Well, let's just call it a nice medium encounter.
Yeah, this is a nice medium
How
encounter.
do you always say,
Nice.
how do I challenge my level 20 party? We'll throw them a couple Tarrasques a day and then finish it off with a Tiamat.
That's the level of play I'm at. That was I don't know. That was a 5 Tarrasque day. Yeah, I could use a short rest.
Any other interesting lore you came across?
There's tons of lore.
Okay.
The origin story of nobody knows anything about the Tarrasque. That's kind of its legendary lore. But in one of the Spelljammer books, there's a planet of Tarrasques.
What?
It's the apex predator of the planet, and it lives like a comfy life, eating all the lizard people that live there.
Oh my god.
And like one of them, somebody like shot it or something. I don't know. And it flew through space, and being a Tarrasque, it was fine until it crashed in the Forgotten Realms, and it just took a nap and wakes up every couple centuries. I don't know. There's only supposed to ever be one Tarrasque in the world.
Right.
And it's like the natural disaster of all disasters. So
Right,
it doesn't
right.
breed, it just sleeps in the ground. And the way to kill it back in the day is you had to reduce it to 0 and then wish it was dead.
Oh.
With all the hoops, that was the only way to kill it. So with all the hoops that you had to go through to even do damage to this thing, then when it was dead, you had to use the most powerful spell in the game to actually make it dead. Or it just got back up. Which is just
Interesting.
a
Okay.
frustrating thing. It's like, we don't have wish. It's like, sorry, guys.
Or even better, like, you just... I mean, I actually don't know how Wish worked back then, but doesn't it have a chance of failing, or no?
This is one of those situations that doesn't.
Okay. Well, I guess we're out of 9th level spell slots. Oops.
Oops, shouldn't burn that all on his fingers.
Yeah.
The other way they died was they didn't die, they just burrowed back into the core of the earth, which I prefer. Your party shouldn't be able to kill the only Tarrasque in the world. What about all the future parties, Jerry? What about all the future level 20s who are really bored?
Right.
You gotta save the Tarrasque, man. Let
Well-
it sleep.
I will say, though, that things that you brought up, Kevin, potentially make that way back. I think it was like first couple episodes. We had the Elemental series. There was like the Zaratan and
the Phoenix.
and all of those. This puts a more neat spin on that kind of calamity feeling of like, it is going towards something, it's going to destroy something. And I think we talked about that with the Zaratan specifically, because that would fit pretty well. But even though they were really low intelligence and basically had no reason why they were heading towards whatever they were heading towards in the lore, I think that can definitely be part of your setup there. Is the evil cult has a ritual that they can raise this thing up and command it to do one specific thing. Head that direction and get to the blah, 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 and then open up the door to blah, blah, blah. And now the evil cult has that. Great. So now it's that same type of setup of like your level 20 party needs to put a stop to this. There's a time limit. And it doesn't fully care about the party as much as it is doing its one task.
Right.
So that I like. That's hard to do. We've never had an actual fight like that, I don't think. I think that would have made... Oh, what's that?
Yeah, I don't think we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that would have made way back. There was a siege on a city in one of the campaigns we ran, and I wish I did something like that. Would have been more fun.
No, I don't know, man.
Oh, well. All right, so I think that's everything we have about the Tarrasque. Any final closing thoughts?
I think anybody looking for challenge needs to pull open the Tiamat stat block. The contrast is just night and day how difficult these encounters are. Take what you can from that and maybe boost up your Tarrasque. It pains me to say that, but the Tarrasque just needs more meat, more death, and a ranged attack.
I can definitely agree on the ranged attack at least. All right.
Yeah, I would say if you're coming at it where this is supposed to be one of the most powerful things in the world and an almost impossible fight, yes, boost it up. If you're kind of more using it as a powerful monster that was summoned to, go destroy a city and trying to stop it, something like that, if you don't have all that heavy weight and lore on it, it's fine. I think it'll be fine. It's just like, it's a really fucking tough fight.
That's fair. I think, once again, the lore itself is really what makes it such a boring fight. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's still it's there, but Tiamat's better.
Yeah, or I think like an ancient red dragon's close.
It's
In
closer
challenge
than
rating.
it should be for a challenge rating like 25.
I don't think I've ever fought an ancient dragon.
No, they're incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Should have that conversation sometime. So with that, I think we're done here. And Kevin,
Thanks for listening.
Next time on Monsters in Multiclass.
join us as we discuss the Monk Warlock multiclass and then the Orcs, potentially part 1. We'll see how much discussion it brings. There could be a lot to talk about. Thanks for listening. Oh, that's Kevin's line. Thanks for listening.